What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about Nano Dimension, ticker symbol NNDM, and how there are a lot of very important catalysts coming up for this company over the next 6 weeks. We're also going to go over the Redshift Money Report interview that was re-aired by Bloomberg this past weekend. Now, this interview has already been seen by a lot of people, but it is important that we remind ourselves what was said in this interview and take a look at the audience that this interview was actually aired to. We're also going to take a look at ARKX's new space exploration ETF and see if NNDM is going to be added into this ETF, which I think it will. And the main event that we're going to be talking about is Nano Dimension's earnings, projected to be happening in the first couple of weeks in March. That's going to be a massive date to look out for, and make sure if you're a Nano Dimension investor that you keep this date on your calendar. So if you guys enjoy this video, please go down and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you get to stay up to date on all of your favorite stocks, learn about a couple of new ones, and see exactly which options I am trading and which strategies I am using to trade them. So if we go over and take a look at some of the details of this interview, we can see that Nano Dimension, an industry-leading additively manufactures electronics, PE printed electronics provider, today announced an interview with President and CEO Yoav Stern will air on the Redshift Money Report on the Bloomberg Network in the U.S. on Saturday, February 6th at 7 p.m. local time across the United States. Here's the important part. The Redshift Money Report airs on Bloomberg Television US on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Local time in 73 million homes. What's important about this is that before and previously when this interview was aired, it was not shown to the United States audience. If you take a look at Nano Dimension's Twitter and you take a look at their response to one of the comments asking if this is a new interview, they disclose that this is the same interview that we've already seen, but it is being broadcasted to an entirely new audience. So we could see a lot more potential eyes on Nano Dimension coming up in the near future. And we also have a couple of interesting statements that the CEO has made in this interview. We've covered these statements before, but in general, these are some very important statements that we need to keep in mind going forward. So the first thing that the CEO said is that 50% of all of their revenue comes from defense and space companies. And as we get into later in this video, we're going to talk about ARK's new ETF, ARKX, and why I think it is definitely going to be added into this new ETF. The CEO also went over some plans on how he plans on deploying the capital. He says that about half of the capital is going to be used for acquisitions. There is currently no competition directly for the Dragonfly LDM product that NNDM currently produces, but he is looking to buy out potential competition to protect their business model, and he has stated that he has already spoken directly with 45 companies. We've also seen NNDM pair up with Carl Square, and they are introducing Nano Dimension to even more companies to acquire throughout Europe. And in my opinion, one of the most important things that the CEO has said is that they're trying to get the Dragonfly LDM product to be able to mass produce these complex 3D electric circuitry boards. That's unbelievable. If they are able to mass produce, their sales are going to go up incredibly, and the valuation of this company is going to go sky high as well. So let's take a look into the earnings estimates that we have right now for NNDM's earnings that are projected and estimated to be within the first couple of weeks of March. So first, we need to know how much these actual products cost. So they think the basic specs are priced between $100,000 and $250,000. If we come over here, we can see that Nano Dimension announces the sale of 2 Dragonfly LDM systems for additive manufacturing of electronics on November 5th. So that is in Q4, which is the date range that they are going to be announcing their earnings for. If we come over to this page, we can see that Nano Dimension rallies on sale of Dragonfly LDM systems. So this came out on December 29th. So we know of 3 times that this product has been sold. So their revenue is going to be a bare minimum of $750,000 on the high end. if the actual customers bought the highest level product that they could have bought. If we come over and take a look at the previous earnings estimates and actual reporting numbers for NNDM, we can see that the quarter ending on 6/30/2020, their consensus EPS estimate was about 9 cents, and they reported an EPS of 27 cents. That's an absolutely massive beat. And then we saw the quarter ending September 30th that their consensus EPS estimate was 8 cents, and they reported 45 cents. Now, we can see that the estimated date that Nano Dimension is going to be reporting their next earnings is March 9th. So that's not exact. We don't know for sure that this is going to be the date yet, but we can assume that Nano Dimension will be reporting sometime in the beginning of March. And we can see right now that there is no consensus estimate for Nano Dimension's earnings per share. And we have to keep in mind that the earnings per share estimates are going to be thrown way out of whack this quarter. The reason for that is that Nano Dimension has done a lot of dilutive share offerings, and they've massively increased the amount of shares outstanding. And when you go to report your EPS, you basically take some form of their revenue and divide it by the shares outstanding in order to get your earnings per share. When you increase the shares outstanding, your earnings per share is going to be massively lower. So we actually could see this consensus estimate be very close to zero or even a negative number if they report a loss. In addition to this very important date, we also have a massive shareholder meeting occurring on February 15th, where Nano Dimension is trying to increase the amount of shares that they are able to issue to shareholders in order to raise more capital for the purposes of acquiring more companies. Now, during this shareholder meeting, we could get some more information about which companies they are trying to acquire in which sectors of the 3D printing field. It's always possible that this happens, but I'm not expecting too much out of this event. I think they're just going to vote on it and then see what they get after that and then decide to do more share offerings. But when the earnings comes out in the middle of March, the middle to early March, we're going to see Nano Dimension give what is called guidance. So those are the forward-looking statements that we're going to be needing to look out for when NNDM reports their earnings. I think when they release their guidance, I think they are going to raise their guidance, and we might get some insight on which specific companies Nano Dimension is going to be acquiring. We actually might get some news on this before their earnings, because that happens a lot when companies have earnings. There's a lot of drama that starts to occur in the weeks leading up to earnings and sometimes the weeks after. So now let's briefly touch upon this ARC news. We went over it in my last NNDM video, but for those of you who missed it, basically the advisor believes that space exploration companies, so the advisor is going to be Kathy Wood, can be grouped into 4 overarching categories, each of which contains relevant sub-elements. Orbital aerospace companies are companies that launch, make, service, or operate platforms in orbital space, including satellites and launch vehicles. Suborbital aerospace companies are companies that launch, make, service, or operate platforms in the suborbital space, including drones, air taxis, and electric aviation vehicles. Enabling technologies companies are companies that create the technologies required for successful value-add aerospace operations, including artificial intelligence, robotics, and here's the key point, 3D printing. So 3D printing is going to be a big part of Nano Dimension's new space exploration ETF. Now, if we come down a little bit further, we can see the advisor, Kathy Wood, will select investments for the fund that represent the advisor's highest conviction investment ideas within the theme of space exploration. We've already seen that ARK Invest has very high conviction in NNDM because they buy this company in such large amounts every single week. So that's going to be it for this update on Nano Dimension. I think we could see a nice pop in NNDM this week after this news and interview has been released to a United States audience. I think we could see some bullishness. We've had some consolidation in NNDM after their massive run-up, but we do have to keep in mind that on February 15th, they are going to be voting on that new, on upping the amount of shares that they are able to issue, and that could cause some short-term bearishness in the share price, but I don't think it's anything to worry about long-term. I think this company is great. They're a leader in their field, and I think they have a very bright future ahead. So that's going to be it for this one. If you guys enjoyed all the information that I provided for you in this video, please go down and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you're notified every single time I post a new video, and you get to stay up to date on all of your favorite stocks, learn about a couple of new ones, and see exactly which options I am trading and which strategies I am using to trade them.